And we're live. It is Monday, February 9th, year of our Lord 2026. It is 8 o'clock a.m. in Washington, D.C., and it is a pleasure to tell you that I did not need to even think about what time it was in Washington, D.C., because I could just look at my clock and on my phone, and it said 8, which was my instinct because my written script in my head says it's 8 o'clock a.m. in Washington, D.C. And I just got to read off of the written script in my head. And I want to tell you that since the beginning of the pandemic, this is the longest I have gone without wearing a dog shirt. It has been 2 full weeks, more actually, of no dog shirts since Friday before I left. So it's 2 weeks and counting. And this is the last day we're going without a dog shirt because I wanted to tell you about this shirt, which Nastya made me buy in Kiev. Um, and Nastya thought it was absolutely outrageous that I had come not intending to do a lot of shopping. And over the course of my time, first in Kiev and then elsewhere, she worked on me and worked on me and worked on me to do a lot of shopping to the point, and this was exacerbated by the fact that everywhere I went, partly because I was meeting with publishers and media people, people were giving me books, people were giving me things, and so by the time I I got back to Kiev after my trip to Kharkiv, I I had just way more stuff than I was going to be able to bring back without either shipping stuff or buying a suitcase. And so I gave in to Nastya, who wanted me to buy a lot of stuff. And I bought a lot of stuff. And mostly of, I gave her the parameters, which was it's got to be stuff I can wear during projection operations that will be infuriating to people in the Russian embassy and hilarious to Ukrainians who show up. And so there's a lot of stuff all with that theme. But I want to say a word about this shirt because this shirt, I think, represents me in a way that very few Ukrainian products could represent me. This is by a company called Syndicate, which makes cheeky brand. It's a kind of cheeky youth brand. And one of their lines of product is a series of shirts with the labels of things that Russians call Ukrainians. So there's one shirt, which I also bought, which says like the Ukrainian trace, which means whenever every sometime something bad happens in Moscow, Russian media will say there's a Ukrainian trace on this, like as in, the evil hand that, blows something up or whatever, or causes people to protest or whatever. But this shirt says Zahidny Kuratur, which means a Western curator, as in whenever what the Ukrainian government does something, the Ukrainian government, which the Russians call the Kiev regime, does something, people will say, well, there's a Western curator behind that, a Western secret hand. And I saw the Khidni Kuratur, and I thought, that's what I aspire to be, a Western curator of, and so this is the last non-dog shirt you're going to see on this show. Um, but it's transition day. Folks, the sun is shining in Washington. The birds are chirping. It is going to be a great fucking day. And Uh, you are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a goddamn revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features is that I don't always wear dog shirts. Sometimes I wear a Western Curator shirt. And another one of the revolutionary features is that sometimes I text Anna Bauer from the plane on the way home and just say, "Hey, you want to come on the show tomorrow?" And she says, "Sure." And I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. And she doesn't really have much of an idea of what we're going to be talking about. And we exchange messages about that the morning of the show with about 15 minutes. And we could set an agenda, but we don't because we both know that an hour of shooting the shit is going to cover all the stuff that we could put on an agenda, all of which is a long winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore. But we are allowed to have Western curator Anna Bauer uh, back on the show with me in my usual host chair with the Guy Fawkes print behind me and a sleepy Bob Mueller leaning for support on I don't know I still don't know what she is, maybe a flower saxophone playing non-cactus. Anna, welcome
Hey,
back to the show.
thanks. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Let me try that again. Anna, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here. So did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did not.
Oh,
The
well,
the better question would be, did you even know the Super Bowl was happening?
I did not until I went to this place around the corner and I was gonna sit there and like eat dinner and like look at my computer and edit this piece that I've been working on. And they were like, you can't, and it's like my local like Canadian sports bar. And I went in at like 6 o'clock and they were like, you can't sit here. And I was like, why? And they said, you have to have a reservation because the Super Bowl is happening.
Was this yesterday or a week
Yeah, this
ago?
was yesterday.
Oh, so
Um,
yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday. See, I didn't even know that. I was vaguely aware that the Golden Globes had happened because I got a New York Times alert about them. Like
what
when
New York Times alert did you get about the Golden Globes? Like,
I
what
don't
even
remember.
happened?
I don't remember. I don't. Like it wasn't like I was paying attention to it. But the Super Bowl, I didn't. I didn't even clock that it was happening.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl happened, Bad Bunny performed. And my question for you, my second question for you is, do you even have any idea who Bad Bunny is?
Oh, John says he wonders if I mean the Grammys. I may mean the Grammys.
Well,
Um,
they both have happened in recent times.
okay. I was dimly aware that there were awards and yes, I do know who Bad Bunny is. But it is only because of the caucus at Lawfare that makes fun of me for not knowing who people in pop culture are. I have been mocked for my lack of knowing who Bad Bunny is by Catherine Pompilio, um, and therefore even know that is Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I even know that he's Puerto Rican, and I know that there was some controversy involving him and Trump, um, or him and so I'm dimly aware of all of this stuff, but only because you guys tease me for being unaware of it.
Well, I don't really know what the specific controversy with him and Trump was, other than like Trump has been really mad that he was picked to perform at the Super Bowl. And Trump, after Bad Bunny's performance, tweeted out his review of the performance, which was like basically that he didn't like that Bad Bunny wasn't speaking English because Bad Bunny sings in Spanish. He thought it was just terrible. And there was an alt halftime show that Turning Point USA did. And I want to read you some of these names and just get a sense of whether you know who any of them are. I feel
Okay,
like
yeah, let's.
you're gonna know maybe one. Um, okay, hold on. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Wait.
And
All
when you
right.
say know who they are, do you mean can can say yes, I've heard that name before, or do I have to know something? Because I can't tell you any song that Bad Bunny wrote, or like
Well,
I wouldn't be able to recognize him performing. So
but
like
you
what?
at least know who he is,
Yeah, if
right?
you say Bad Bunny performed at the Super Bowl, that is a parsable English sentence to me.
Yeah. All right. So at the Turning Point USA All American Halftime Show, it featured Kid Rock.
Yes, I have heard of
All
Kid
right.
Rock.
I figured you
And
would have
and I
known.
even know that Kid Rock is like a Trumpist, uh, uh,
Yeah.
not pop star, but like, you know, and I think why do I want to say that Kid Rock is? I think I know that Kid Rock is a Michigander. Is that right too?
Because he ran for office somewhere, but actually you're going beyond the depths of my Kid Rock knowledge.
Okay, so but if I'm right that he is from Michigan, then I have actually outperformed Anna Bauer on
Although, do you know the great Kid Rock song with Sheryl Crow?
no.
Okay. I think what is it? Picture? I put your picture away. It's so good.
But I do know, didn't Sheryl Crow used to date Lance Armstrong?
Yeah, she did.
See?
Oh, oh man, we should talk about the Olympics. No, maybe we shouldn't talk about it. You missed the Olympics cheating scandal. That is hilarious.
Oh, great.
But
We're going to come to that, but
wait,
let's
I
go
got to
through
get
this
through the
first.
rest of this list
Yeah.
first. Brantley Gilbert.
Never heard of, I don't even know which pronouns to use for Brantley Gilbert. That one could go either way.
Uh, I'm just glad that it's not like everyone in my hometown is now named like Briley or Braylon or like
Yeah.
some variation of that. And so I feel like Brantley to me is at least a cognizable like name that I'm like
Well, so
familiar with. It sounds familiar-ish, but I
this
still don't know who he is.
yeah, this is the most the most important cultural change in America in the last 50 years. It used to be that m men and women alike had names that were not like the names of that you were only allowed to have if you were, you know, WASP elite from New York, Wellington Ogilvy the third or something. And then uh, it became, uh, you know, this weird norm to have, first of all, have women have to name girls after the last names of early presidents, Madison, Taylor, Harrison. You know, these are this would have been unheard of, and there are no women my age named, you know, Brigsley or whatever.
Names people are getting in the South is
Right,
Like Brigsley. I would
right.
meet Brigsley and not be
And
surprised.
then you can't um y- 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 and then they started naming boys that stuff too,
Yeah.
so that now, you know, an American Southern name, or any name actually, because it can happen anywhere, is you can't actually tell whether the person is a former president. Their first name makes them a former president, or, you know, a rural girl. And I think this is, you know, everybody's walking around with a name that makes them like they walked off the set of Metropolitan or Barcelona, or you know, and I think this is a lamentable trend. And I think we should go back to naming boys John and girls Amy.
But is it worse? Is it worse that than the like I was talking to my friend at a birthday party this weekend and we were talking about children's names and she like was sick because like a lot of our friends have started having kids or whatever, but she was talking about not about our friends' kids, but about like the general naming conventions in Brooklyn in like Park Slope. And she was saying like it's so crazy because everyone is named like Juniper or Aphrodite or like like
You're
something.
not allowed. So if you are Greek, you are allowed to be named Aphrodite. If you are not Greek, you're not allowed to be named Aphrodite. If you like, and Richard Wattenbarger just put in the chat, how about Polk? Right? If we're naming people after the last names, girls after the last names of early American presidents, I want Tippecanoe. I want Polk. I want you know, well, right? Like, you know, um, just like have the courage of your convictions on this. Oh, another one, founding era names. No one's naming girls Rufus King. All right? Let's if you're not prepared to do Rufus King, um like you're not you don't really have skin in the game.
No one is naming their kid Rufus in general, except in the UK. I have met some Rufuses in the UK.
All right, I'm totally with John. We should go with Supreme Court cases. Homer Plessy, that's a name that some white girl needs. Um,
Someone will name someone who's like really like pro like anti-abortion will name their kid Dobbs.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like we have barely scratched the surface of what we can do with this trend. And I think, a courage of your convictions with names listicle is maybe something that's going to happen on Dog Shirt
I named
Daily.
my child Toad.
For example, um, irrespective of gender. All right. Next name on your
I
list.
haven't even told you the name, the rest of the names. Lee
Yeah, let's
Bryce.
go.
Lee Bryce.
Never heard of Lee Bryce.
All right, final name on the list, Gabby Barrett.
Nope.
Don't know
Hey,
any
I'm
of these
one for
people.
4, 1 for 5, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and that's like, okay, Bad Bunny. Let me give you some of the other Bad Bunny performance, like who
Okay.
showed up. All
At the
right,
actual
all
Super
right. So
Bowl.
let's compare. You're 1 for 1 with the Bad Bunny gang right now because you knew who Bad Bunny was. All
Okay.
right, I got two more for you. Lady Gaga.
Yes, I am aware of Lady Gaga. And I'm all I can even in contrast to uh um Bad Bunny, I can actually name and recognize Lady Gaga songs because I had children who grew up in in the height of the Lady Gaga era. So I am atmospherically aware of Lady Gaga.
I see you. I feel like you probably only know Lady Gaga's pop songs from that era, but
Certainly correct.
I feel like you actually would really appreciate Lady Gaga as a vocalist and as a like artist who like she's got the pipes, like she can sing, and I could see you really liking some of her slower stuff because it's
All
really
right.
cool.
Well,
Um,
we're gonna have to look into that.
yeah, okay, so final one on the list, Ricky Martin.
Okay, so I cannot that name does not sound unfamiliar, but I can't identify. If you had just said Ricky Martin, I don't think I would have said pop star. So I'm gonna go with if we're doing honor system here, I would go with sort of leaning no.
Okay, all right. All right, so we're like 2.5 out of 3. Those are the people who like performed, but I've got like two more for you of people who were just on the set who made little cameos in with Bad Bunny. All
Okay.
right. Cardi B.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but
You
maybe
know,
because of
Charlie.
you.
Interesting.
That's how I know about Charlie XCX too. It's just from knowing you.
Oh my gosh, I wish Charlie would have made I wish that
Just
Charlie
all
would
of a
have
sudden,
made.
we started debating whether things were brat or not,
Yeah.
and that required explanation, and therefore I know who she is.
Charlie has a new movie out.
All right,
Anyway, all right, last one. Pedro Pascal.
no,
All right, he's an actor. So maybe you're thinking like in the musician world, but he's an actor.
yeah. Well, what's he been in?
He's been in, okay, oh my gosh, what hasn't he been in recently? He was in The Fantastic Four, which is not a Ben Wittes movie. He has been in that HBO show about the zombies. The name is escaping me, but everyone really liked it. Someone in the chat is going to help me out with this, I'm sure. Last of Us, thank you, Andrew. He
John
is
Hawkinson says he was in Game of Thrones. Who
he
was
was
he
in
in?
Game of Thrones.
Who was
Yes,
in Game of Thrones?
he was like the brother of he was like the Sands, right? Someone oh, he was a Martell, never mind. He was over
Hmm.
in Martell.
All
Um
right, I have not seen enough of Game of Thrones to know who that is, and
he
therefore
was like he got into a big fight with a guy in like the little pit, like a duel situation, and he died, and everyone was very sad, kind of gladiator-esque situation. I don't know.
no, I can't go with I don't know the name, but I've seen his work because I think I don't know the name and I haven't seen his work.
He most recently was in The Materialist, which was the new Celine Song movie with Dakota Johnson, and it had the most crazy that movie. I still laugh every time I think about it because I kid you not, the like huge plot point in that movie was that it turns out the character Pedro Pascal was playing, which was this like really handsome rich guy who was like sweeping Dakota Johnson off her feet. uh the big plot point of the movie twist was that he got that surgery that people get on their legs to get like 6 inches taller. Like, you know, where they like literally put like an implant in your femur or something to make your and then like stretch it out so that you become taller.
Don't do that, people.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, why would
As,
you do that?
as an official proud short person, and when I say proud short person, I appear in public regularly next to Scott Anderson. I have sat on a stage with Jim Comey. I am not ashamed to be fucking short. And I just want to say to all the short guys out there, have a little bit of dignity.
Yeah, the surgery is like really insane. Like it's crazy to me because it's like it takes like I mean it probably
You must have
takes
a
like
hell of a recovery
yeah,
time.
that recovery sounds insane. And then at the end of it, like apparently like you're kind of out of like proportion because your thighs are really long.
Right? Shortness is not simply a creature of legs,
Yeah.
right? If you're not also extending your neck and extending your torso, much of it has to do with your torso. My torso is short. Um, Also, your arms. Do you want to be that like T-Rex thing who's like giant but whose arms are small? Don't do it, people.
Yeah.
Be short, be proud, be stocky. You can handle this.
Yeah, so this maybe brings us to the Olympic scandal that I don't even know if I want to talk about, but it is so funny.
Okay, so let me tell you the only Olympics news that I got. This
Okay.
I got that there were Olympics that had started. They seemed to be going on in Italy. And Lindsey Vonn wiped out, and um, I think I was supposed to be very sad about that. And um, that is all I know about the Olympics. I don't think I even knew there was a bobsled at the airport in Zurich that I spent about a minute looking at because I've never been up close to a Olympic bobsled before, and sledding races, particularly skeleton and luge, are matters of interest to me. As a child, I always wanted to learn to do luge. And so I spent a little bit of time looking at the bobsled and thinking, wow, that's cool. That would be hard to make one of those. And that is really about as far as I got with the Olympics.
Okay, well, let me give you an update on the Olympics. So one, JD Vance got booed, but then it was mysteriously kind of like cut from the broadcast of some of the American programming. So that was interesting. And yes, Lindsey Vonn tragically did crash. Um, After tearing her ACL, and everyone kind of was like, wait, I don't need an ACL anymore, because she was just kind of, she tore her ACL and then was just kind of like gonna compete anyway. And it was kind of incredible. But I don't think the crash was related to the ACL. I think it was just related to she clipped a gate on her run. Um,
Well, flipping a gate is one thing. I mean, the question is whether at those kinds of speeds you are more likely to do something like that if you're uh, even a little bit impaired. I don't know how you can ski, professionally at that, with a torn ACL. I just don't know how that works physically, and maybe the answer is it doesn't.
Yeah, but the big scandal of doping this year is a penis enlargement scandal with the ski jumpers, but the ones who wear these suits. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
The skin suits?
they have to wear these suits. I don't even know. Someone in the chat tell me what this ski jumping like suit is called, or what it's for. It's basically like like they have certain suits, and it depends on the size of their body, like what size suit they get, right? And if you have more suit relative to
You
your
get
body,
a suit
then
that
you
lift.
get more lift. So what some of these guys did is they injected themselves with hyaluronic acid to like make that the measurements on that area of their body larger so that they could get a larger suit.
But dumb question. So this, my understanding of the relationship between penis size and skin suit size is limited. Is the theory here that like, because I would think if you want a bigger suit, you would want more massive shoulders, or something that actually takes up a lot of space as opposed to a relatively small amount of space.
The same bin, but
Okay, is the theory that you can only enlarge your shoulder and chest size with drugs that are prohibited, but you can maybe get away with penis enlargement by with drugs that are not prohibited? What's the theory? Well, like, why not increase your ear size? I guess the suit doesn't go over your ears.
yeah, I have absolutely no idea what the answer to these questions are. If anybody in the chat has answers and you want to jump in, let us know. But it is, to me, just a hilarious Olympics doping scandal, because like you had like a full New York Times like alert on this hyaluronic acid
Did you
scandal.
did you know, Anna Bauer, that the only time I have actively gotten engaged in an Oscars matter, like I actually put my professional prestige behind a campaign for an Oscar, involved an Olympic doping scandal.
Oh,
And by
interesting.
the way, I prevailed. The film that I advocated for and hosted an event for at Brookings and wrote about repeatedly, in fact, won the Oscar for Best Documentary that
Oh,
year.
wow. That's
Yeah,
cool. I
yeah,
had no idea.
yeah. So
Um,
this was the film Icarus, which was
oh
made.
my gosh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie. And should I tell you the story of my involvement in the film
Yeah,
Icarus?
tell me the story. I'm trying to get someone has answers in the chat about the suit, but I'm trying to get it before it goes away because it's hard to scroll back up. But yes,
All
while
right,
I'm doing
so
that.
here's my story about Icarus. When I was a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old child in New York City, I went to elementary school with a girl named Lizzie Garbus, whose father was a very celebrated defense lawyer, actually, Martin Garbus. And we were not we weren't friends or close or anything, but we knew each other and we were in class together. And early in the situation, part one, um, uh, I ran into this was right around the time that I was uh, outed myself as a friend of Jim Comey's and did some public speaking on the subject. And uh, I noticed that a filmmaker named Liz Garbus was retweeting a bunch of my stuff, and I recognized her immediately, like you and I went to elementary school together. And I tweeted that at her, and I think she must have thought I was hitting on her or something. She thought I was crazy. And then we DM'd like Bank Street, oh my God, yes, right? Like, and it was, and we reconnected after 40 years or something. And Liz is a very serious documentary filmmaker. The reason she was interested in the stuff that I was tweeting was that she was working on a documentary about the New York Times. She had embedded in the New York Times, but she'd done an incredible movie about Nina Simone. She's a very celebrated documentarian. And her husband um, is not a director, but a producer of documentaries who was working at the time with this crazy guy, Brian Fogel, who is on this movie. And so when a few weeks after Liz and I kind of randomly connected on Twitter, um, they had a screening of uh, Icarus, which was in Washington, and they invited me to it, and I went. And if you think about like what is a sports movie that is solidly within Lawfare's orbit,
Yeah, it's that
right?
like
It is,
it is very much that one.
and so I go to this movie expecting it to be like something I was doing because like an old long lost friend. Uh, and I am completely blown away by the movie. So I set up a screening of it at Brookings, and we have Kogan and Fogel come on the Lawfare podcast, and I wrote a long review of the movie on Lawfare. And a few months later, the movie gets nominated for Best Documentary. And I did not know this, but uh, when you get a nomination for an Oscar, it is a matter of a campaign. There are actual campaigns that go on.
Yeah, they
And
spend so much money on these campaigns too. Like they
so,
gotta
this is a
people or something. I don't
this
know.
was a
Like
low budget film. There wasn't, but you know, um, and so I kind of got recruited to this campaign because I was sort of the I don't know. I was the Washington policy intellectual who was enthusiastic about the film. I'd hosted an event for it at Brookings. And so, there are a set of tweets that they're all gone now because my Twitter account doesn't exist. But, where I sort of made clear that it was an important thing for this film to win. And I actually felt very strongly about it. And it did win. And it's the only time I've ever cared about who won an Oscar. And, And that is why, to this day, in my office at Brookings, there is a poster for Icarus that hangs. Uh, um, and that is, yeah, that is my sports doping scandal story.
It's good. It's a great, that's a great story, but also it's a great movie. Like
It is
anyone
a
who has
great.
not seen it, you should really watch it. It's incredible. Um,
And the answer to everybody's question who has seen it is Brian Fogel as nutty as he appears to be in that movie? Is yes. This is a highly, highly eccentric individual.
he didn't strike me as being particularly nutty. It did,
Well, the premise of the film, right?
like, yeah, like I'm gonna
That-
inject
that
myself.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
through doping and film myself do it to see if and I'm gonna hire the I'm gonna dope under the supervision of the Russian doctor who doped the Russian team at Sochi. Um, and we're gonna film it all. That's a nutty thing to do. And by the way, the kind of bicycling that he does, which is, this is stage riding in, you have to be crazy to, I mean, that's some serious ass, to do that at an amateur level. You have to be that's crazy, crazy calorie expenditure. Um, so yeah, Brian is, I think he's a lovable nut. I think the film is brilliant. And if you have not seen, uh, oh, and by the way, the serious turn that it takes about a third of the way in, where the film starts out as about, oh, I'm gonna dope to see if I can become nationally competitive, and film it, and it all of a sudden becomes about arranging a defection of somebody the KGB actually wants to kill. Is you know there's some pretty serious shit going on in that movie, and
The guy is still in witness protection to this
oh
day.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he, you know, the memory of the Russian intelligence services is long, and there will come a time when they see an opportunity to kill him, and, you know, like his life will never not be in danger. And I will say something else about it, which was one of the major themes of my review of the movie. The fundamental importance of the movie is that it is the movie came out right as we were all talking about Russian election interference. And the clinical manner in which they expose the interference in the Sochi Winter Olympics, uh, you know, down to having a bathroom with a secret passage, right, that you can put, like, think about if they're this serious about marginal medal victories in Olympic Games. Think about um, what they will do on things that actually matter. Um, and um, and so I think the real importance of the movie is actually just as a rare look at the details of Russian covert actions, and you have to translate it in your head from Olympic Games to something the Russian state cares about. Here is the lengths that they will go, and it's super creative what they did. And it worked. And so I actually think the movie is important in like 10 different ways. The least important of which is that it's the only movie I've ever played a very minor role in an Oscar campaign for, and I'm one for fucking one, people.
Yeah, it is. Although I will say, like, I don't, I see what you mean about like, imagine what they do when it's something that's really important to them. But that said, the Olympics has always played an important role in kind of the, like, whole, like, uh, culture kind of clash between Russia and the US and Cold War politics and like all of that kind of stuff.
And
So
not just Russia.
yeah,
Author
and everywhere else,
yeah,
right? Like,
totalitarian countries care about Olympics very deeply. So the of course, the most famous example of this is 1936 Berlin, right? And the great propaganda movie, which is worth watching, actually, Leni Riefenstahl's movie that she made for Hitler, about that film, is about the 36 games, is a big deal. The Russians become obsessed with medals, as a way of competing, showing they're competitive with the West. The East Germans as well were even more extreme. And of course, the Chinese have become very extreme in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. So there's a long running, and by the way, all of them cheat, which is, like, it's an interesting dynamic. Um, but it is quite rare. I mean, we have a lot of data about East German, particularly the East German women's swimming teams over the years. The amount of doping it really wasn't that they did, it was that was done to them. But um, the genius of this film is that there is a defector who describes it in great detail, and it was subsequently investigated, and like it's all true. And there's something, real time about it. There's something, how the doping was done and the evasion of the tests was done, and also that it postdates the Soviet period, right? That this is a modern Russian state behaving this way, uh, you know, if you just substitute the words election interference from medal cheating, or, whatever thing you want that matters, it's a window into the behavior of their security services relative to things that are supposed to be fought on neutral ground. And look, I don't mean to suggest that, we are pure as the driven snow in this regard. Lance Armstrong, like lots and lots of Americans have cheated, including in Olympics. But there's never been an allegation of an organized program of cheating by the United States as a state, right, or by Britain as a country. And there's something fascinating about the degree to which authoritarian countries care enough to do this.
and there's also just something fascinating about the extent to which individuals will go to great lengths to dope. Because it seems like it's now at a point in the sport where like like everyone, to what you hear often is people saying like everyone to some extent is now doping. And it's just a question of like how they're doing it. Like every year there's some way to try to get around the testing.
This
But
is
you're
why I don't watch sports anymore. No, I'm
really.
totally serious.
Oh,
I was a passionate, fanatical Yankees fan growing up, and you know, I long after, I like I was a serious baseball fan as an adult until until the day that I realized that the breaking of every record that I had grown up with, and thought of as a as precious and meaningful, they turned out to be complete bullshit. And you would never know who was the home run champion. You would never. And it just switched off a switch for me. And so I immediately reverted to the one sport. Again, this is not a great picture of my perspicacity as a human being. I transferred all that energy to the one sport that I thought looked like it was really doing something about it, which was professional cycling, which was testing people after every stage of every race. And, we had this great Lance Armstrong guy who was winning 7 tours in a row, blah, blah, blah. And when Lance turned out to be not just a fraud, but an evil fraud, um, I I just said I'm never participating in watching a professional sporting event again. Twice fooled, 3 times shy, and so since then, if somebody I know is not participating in a sporting event, i.e., either me or one of my kids or somebody I'm close to, I consider it just outside my area of interest, and it's all because of doping. So I take the doping shit pretty seriously, but I do think there's a different level when you're talking about state-sponsored doping
Oh,
activity.
for sure. And there's different, questions of responsibility and that kind of thing. So do you think though, like, what would be the most honest sport in the Olympics? The most dope-proof sport? Is it curling? Like, are the curlers doping?
Well,
Like, what?
so so let's start with we don't know. And by the way, if you have you ever tried curling?
No, I don't even know what curling. I have no.
Lifting a 50-pound rock and being able to throw it slowly requires a degree of upper body strength that I would not be surprised if there is an element of which doping can help, because when you're throwing a 50-pound thing, micro micro control over, and if you throw it too hard, it careens across the ice and smacks into the wall. I mean, it's really hard. My assumption is that the most doping proof uh, sports are going to be the sledding sports, because all of the energy is coming from gravity. And unlike skiing, um, uh, the you're not throwing your body, right? You're doing these tiny micro movements that I mean, it's a little bit like, I think, uh, you know, breath control, and um, they're almost more like yoga than so my guess is, that if you're on a luge, or I mean, a bobsled is a little different because you're pushing it to begin with, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some raw strength advantage you can get from, but like skeleton or luge, what would be the advantage that doping would give you there?
Yeah, I have no idea. I would not know. But I think it's not even necessarily like a question of okay, for example, the the skiing enlargement situation, that is is that even doping? Like, it's a way of trying to uh get around some type of restriction to get an advantage. Maybe there's something like that in sledding or luge.
That might be right. And, I look, the question of what constitutes illegal doping, the more you think about it, the less coherent it is. So, why are these legal? Or contact lenses legal? Um, in any sport, right? They're a physical alteration you're making to your body to improve performance. Um, and you could say, well, every everybody can only use the advantages that nature gives them or takes away. So you're not allowed to enlarge your penis to make the skin suit bigger, and you're also not allowed to correct vision. Why are you allowed to? So if you take a steroid to increase your muscle mass, that is an illegal substance. But if you say take a GLP-1 to lose weight, I'm not sure that's prohibited. right? Why is that? Um,
It sounds like you need to get Scott Shapiro on here, Ben. Apparently, according to Matt, he has started to do a podcast on the philosophy of sports.
yes, the law, that was a while ago. I don't know if that podcast has continued, the Sports Rules podcast. But yeah, maybe we should invite Scott to discuss this. And but I do think the concept is semi-incoherent. And also, why is it okay for figure skaters to have uh or um the like the amount of makeup that people wear, why is that okay, right? Like they're being judged on all sorts of aspects of the beauty of the performance, right? The but yet they're allowed to physically alter their physical.
But they're not being judged on their appearance. Like,
And yet they all think that if they don't wear that, wear that, really treat themselves like models, they'll do worse.
I think that's just a convention of like it's just like a norm of the sport, right? Like
I, but
I
but my question is, why is it okay as a norm of the sport if what we're saying is these are feats of competitive physical prowess, and the only thing that matters is who does the physical thing better? Why, in some areas, do we allow people to change their appearance, change their body mass, change their eyesight? Right? I, I mean, I don't think we have a consistent philosophy of these things.
well then why is your philosophy that if you think that we don't have a consistent philosophy on these things, then why is it that you can't even watch sports because you think that so many people are doping that it makes it dishonorable kind of like
Not even, it's not that I can't, it's that I lost interest. And
okay.
I'm not and I'm not saying that my philosophy of it is the right one. Um my idea would be I actually think if I were writing the rules, my idea would be you can do anything you want to your body, but you have to disclose it. Um, and so if the entity competing is Ben Wittes as modified by the best doctors that he can hire versus Anna Bauer and her team of doctors, uh, uh, just like let's lay out on the table who's competing here,
It's
right?
not fun to watch a competition between someone who is doped up in a superhuman way because like it really does make a significant difference, right? To like you want at least the fiction of thinking that these are people who are competing on like whether they're doped up or not, like that these are people who are competing on an even like it makes something about the entertainment aspect of watching sports less fun. Um, it,
I think that's right, and
yeah,
but I would prefer it to, you know, the fiction of watching Florence Griffith Joyner blow away the world record for women in the 100, and 2 days later it turns out to be a fraud. Um, I don't. I I I I think having. But look, I don't know what I think the solution is. My solution is I'm not interested in this shit anymore, and you know, and the engagement that I want to have with this world is that I go to a gym and punch and kick things, and it's just like what I can do with my own body and what my kids could do with theirs, and our friends, and you know but I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying that's how I emotionally reacted to having things that I can't tell you what 61 home runs in a year meant to me as a child, um, and to have that not just beaten, but beaten repeatedly and quickly and by a lot, and to have it all be fraudulent. So that today I don't know what the actual home run like. If you say, okay, morally, who has the record for home runs in a season as a moral matter, I have no idea what the answer to that question is. Um, and once you say that, I don't know how to tell a 10-year-old kid that actually means something, but it sure meant something to me. And and I know that when Cal Ripken beat Lou Gehrig's consecutive games played record, that was meaningful because you can't dope your way to consistency over time.
There you go.
But so I know that one, much as I loved Lou Gehrig, was that one has an element of reality. Um, but like, I'm not sure that any of the other ones, like the strikeout stuff, how fast you can throw a pitch, um, I don't like none of it, anything that involves, you know, I'm just not sure that any of it is credible anymore. And that caused me to just say, I don't want to think about it. I'll read more literature. I'll you know, play more sports myself. The irony is that the moment this decision psychologically for me really did coincide with my getting much more active about martial arts and, actually doing physical activity, rather than watching other people do it, which was probably a healthy development. But you know, sometimes I watch Olympic Taekwondo just because I have enough physical experience doing Taekwondo to know how extraordinary the physical acts that I'm watching are. And so, but basically I don't do sports as a spectator anymore. And I regret it because I think I actually did enjoy that quite a bit.
The figure skating has been very fun to watch for me so far.
And figure skating, I do want to say there's a limit to how much difference you can make on doping that way because the precision of it is so much of it. So I used to figure skate, and
You
the
did?
oh yeah,
What?
um, yeah, I'm actually a reasonably good skater, and I have taken figure skating lessons, and I know my way around an ice rink on figure skates, on hockey skates, and on speed skates. I am I and speed skates are my love. I think speed skating is one of the, but I would never watch Olympic speed skating because my assumption is nobody whose calves and thighs are that big should be assumed to be getting them naturally. Like nobody. And
The guy who just won the 20-year-old from Virginia named Ilya, someone help me, Ilya Malinin, I think.
Malinin,
Yeah, he just did an incredible figure skating program yesterday. And yeah, they call him the quad because he does like all these quads. I don't know. But he like honestly, this kid, I watched it and I was like, I don't know anything about figure skating, but this is incredible. My suggestion though, that someone I am stealing this from someone else. I don't know who wrote it on Twitter, but I think it's a brilliant idea. Is that before every performance in an Olympic sport, they get one person who's just a normal person who doesn't can't do with normal abilities to go out there and try to do something that is the same, and then you can compare so you can really start to understand exactly how good these people are at their sport by just having one round of like normal people doing the sport,
Right.
and it
That's
looked
actually a
incredible
great idea.
in comparison.
So I would be remiss if I did not mention Eric Heiden before we close the show, because in my world of sports heroes, I am like Fred, old enough to remember the 1980 Winter Olympics, which everybody in the United States remembers for the so-called Miracle on Ice, where we beat the Russians in ice hockey. And yes, that was magical. But for me, the most magical part of the 1980 Olympics was Eric Heiden winning 5 gold medals in speed skating, which was the thing that caused me to first be interested in speed skating. And his sister Beth, I believe, won a bronze as well. And by the way, he took a break from medical school to do these Olympics. And it was just one of those great stories. And those are, by the way, the 6 gold medals that the United States won in 1980 at the Winter Olympics at Lake Placid, where there is still a speed skating track, and it is unfortunately the closest speed skating track to Washington, and therefore it's kind of hard to be a speed skater in Washington. Folks, we're going to be back tomorrow. The estimable Emily Hogue is going to join us. Emily Hogue, as you will recall, expert on Russian mob, all things Russian organized crime, but she is also a fan of much Soviet architecture, which is a very unpopular opinion. And I have just returned from Kharkiv, where I saw for the first time in my life Soviet architecture that I thought was pretty freaking cool. So I am excited to have a conversation with Emily about Soviet architecture and other stuff. So we're going to do some Russian mob. We're going to do some Soviet architecture. We're going to do some whatever else comes up. There may be dog shirts involved because Emily is serious about antagonizing her spouse, Quinta Jurecic, by wearing dog shirts on Dog Shirt TV, which Quinta really disapproves of. We're going to be back tomorrow, and you're going to be okay until then. Keep the faith, pray with a raised fist, and uh, remember that if you marry, you will regret it. And if you don't marry, you will regret it. And if you kill yourself, you will regret it. And if you do not kill yourself, you will regret it. As Kierkegaard once said, this is the essence of all philosophy. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.